Right, thank you all for coming. Great to see so many of you here. Great venue, new venue for this year. Hope you enjoy it. Great to see so many of our wonderful vendors here as well. CSG Citrix, if only you had so many people when you had your name in our title, right? Suddenly we've become really popular. I wonder why that is. Right, okay, great agenda lined up for today. You're all here. I know your time is valuable. We appreciate you coming. These events are free thanks to our sponsors, platinum sponsors, IGL, AWS. These guys are all out there. You've probably seen them already. Do spend time with them today. It's because of them that we can put on these events and they don't need to charge you, and the fact that you can eat and drink for free. Quick show of hands if you use Citrix technology in your organization. Yeah, what is Citrix? Someone said, yeah. If you use Microsoft AVD, yeah, about the same. Vmware, yeah, and something else. And if you're here just for the free food and drink. Right, so steering group members, we're around all day. If you're in the room, stand up, please. Make yourself known. Nigel, Neil, Chris, myself, Shabs at the back. So if you've got any questions, any problems, grab one of us during the day. Or if you work for a vendor and like to sponsor and be here next time, do grab us or one of the events team in the corner. Socials, we have a X account, EUC Forum UK, hashtag EUC Forum. If you want to be on stage next time talking about something you've done pretty cool, you can, there's a QR code, but we have a submit your session button on our website. Sessions today are recorded. We will distribute the slides as PDFs after the meeting, so you don't need to take notes, and we are videoing them. Will be on our YouTube channel afterwards, and there are some previous events on there as well. If you'd like to take a look, scan the QR code or just search for EUC Forum on YouTube. That's the link if you want to submit your session, but there is a link on the website as well. So we'd love to get case studies. If you've done a cool project, if you've got a cool script that you've written that saves you hours of time, we'd love to come talk about it. We've got no printed agendas this time. We're being eco-friendly. So we do have this feedback link for the whole day. So if you want to submit your feedback on the presentations, the venue, anything else, use this code, and we'll be showing this around the venue as well. It'll be on the screens outside. So future events. Next meeting will be in Liverpool on June the 18th. We'd love to see you there if you can. We'll have a social event in London in September, and then we'll have the third meeting of the year in November again in London. So do keep an eye on the mailing list and on our socials for more details of those. Packed agenda, we've got loads of things to show you. So first up, we've got our three big EUC vendors talking about what they've been up to. As I say, tons and tons of stuff to talk about. This is the first time we've got two tracks, just to keep you on your toes. So we have this room, which is Ludgate, room 1, and then we've got Rawbrook, room 2, which is just over the way. So you can have a choice of sessions this afternoon. If anything, takes your pick there. As I said, feedback link. We've got some post-event nibbles and drinks. That will be held at the Minneries. If anyone know where the Minneries is, it's pretty famous. Just follow the crowd if you don't know where it is. We'll be heading there after the event for a few drinks. Yeah. So, first up is Microsoft. How about this stage now? You guys, there's your clicker.
Morning, everyone. You'll probably realise I'm not Tom Hickling, who is scheduled to be doing this, but apparently Tom can't overlay his personal and work diaries together to plan his day out properly. So, but he will be here later on. So I'm going to be covering what's new in AVD, and Foggy's going to be covering what's new in Windows 365.
You left the Windows Monkey on there. That was
Yes,
meant to be a joke.
yes, he did say to me, just put up Windows Monkey in my title, so that's what I've done. But yeah, so I'm focused on helping customers adopt AVD, and
I do the same for Windows 365.
So we are mortal enemies internally at Microsoft,
yes,
as you can
basically.
probably tell. So I'm going to leave this slide up. There's a lot on it, but this is what we've released recently in Azure Virtual Desktop, and we've got a similar one for Windows 365. I am not going to go through this. Obviously, this is from an internal deck that I got approval just to be able to present. So there's a lot up there in terms of what we've released recently, but there's also a couple of things that are in private preview at the moment, so customers that are testing stuff out. But if anyone wants to chat to me later on about any of these, please come and talk to me. So I've got a couple of minutes. I'm going to pull out a couple of the key ones. I can't see my notes, so I can't remember which ones I was going to talk about. But one of the ones here, we haven't got a laser, have we? Oh, we have. I got special dispensation to talk about this one from Tom. So we have a new feature that's currently in private preview with customers, and that will allow. Has anyone done image management in AVD before? Anyone think it's very good? No. Okay. So we realised that, and hence we've had trusted partners like Nerdo that have been doing stuff, and even Citrix do great stuff with provisioning. Our provisioning's not been great, but we have a new capability coming that will do end-to-end sort of host pool updates, image management, image management in the portal as well. So you won't have to sort of drive all that from PowerShell and things like that. Another one we've got that's just gone into public preview. We didn't really make a big splash about it, but we have one-way clipboard redirection control now within AVD. So as an administrator, you can now control whether text is allowed to be copied and pasted, whether images are allowed to be copied and pasted, and you can decide which way round that one flows as well. So that is part of a bigger initiative from ourselves that you'll start to see a lot more on in terms of granular security controls for AVD. Because at the moment, it's pretty much hit or miss. It's pretty much all or nothing, but we're going to start building more contextual and granular security controls into AVD, and this is kind of the first in that one. But again, if you're interested in that, just come speak to me, and I'll talk to you about that one later. I can't remember what else I was going to talk about because I can't see my notes, but let's move forward. So the big hero announcement of the last few months was we finally released AVD support for Azure Stack HCI. So this allows you to run AVD workloads, but run them on-prem on Azure Stack HCI. So believe it or not, a lot of customers have been asking for this capability, and I've seen a lot of posts online with people sort of deriding it and saying it's very expensive and why would you do it? But it's not. I mean, our focus is still driving people to Azure. We want people to come to Azure and deploy the workloads. But for those niche use cases where you really, for security, for governance, for latency reasons, you need to keep those applications and desktops on-prem, then we now have this capability. And I thought I would probably have retired by the time this was GA'd, but it GA'd in February as well. Another big one that hopefully you've seen is we have now the Windows app, which is a a streamlined method for accessing all the resources. So AVD resources, RDS resources, Windows 365 resources. We had about 7 or 8 clients for Windows, believe it or not. If you actually tried to access AVD, you had 6 or 7, I think it was, maybe, different ways to do it. So customers were, again, asking for us to streamline that. So this should be going GA soon. Don't ask me what soon means, but I've been told that it's getting close. So if you haven't already tried this, please try it out with your AVD deployments, your Windows 365 deployments, because I run a Mac, and it's much better experience now accessing AVD from a Mac. Now you can switch users, you can switch users, switch workspaces, which you couldn't do before, so you can have multiple workspaces. But again, this is a way as well, just to show the engineering effort between Windows 365 and AVD. It's a joint engineering effort, but both products have their unique value and will continue to have their unique value. So capabilities in one might not necessarily be in the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Are you sticking with the name? Are you sticking with the name?
Oh, I don't know. Windows app.
The Windows app, yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, it's not easy to find as well when you search the Windows Store for the Windows app and the Mac Store for the Windows.
But it is that idea of trying to make it consistent across all platforms, right? Move away from MSTSC, MSRDP, Windows 365 app. Just make it Windows app. If you need to get to any Windows endpoint, any Windows shared application, you'll go to the Windows app. One quick question before I start. The question was not who is it using Windows 365 today? Is anybody? Good, excellent. That's what I like to see. So, as there are a fewer hands up, very, very briefly, what Windows 365 is, if you aren't aware, is a way to remove all of the complexity that is traditionally associated with VDI. Let's be honest, that's why lots of us have got jobs, because it's complex and we're here to understand it, and therefore lift it up into a SaaS application whereby you can simply get a desktop to a user by assigning them a license. The way I like to illustrate that really is to say we are doing for Windows what we did for Exchange and email about 20 years ago, right? So whereby you used to have to know networking and storage and hypervisors and virtualization and database availability groups for business continuity and all that kind of stuff. Nobody does that now, right? If you want Exchange, you give somebody a license and they've got a mailbox. That's exactly what Windows 365 is there to do. If somebody needs a Windows endpoint, assign them a license and they get a Windows endpoint. And on top of that, of course, you then get a consistent management plane from which to do that. You manage both your physical endpoints and your virtual endpoints all in one place. So the idea, trying to make everything as simple as possible. Whilst also recognising that, of course, you still have to drive enterprise workloads on these machines. So what we've been doing is, of course, investing in that platform to close some of the perceived gaps that you had where you might have to go to AVD. Those things such as making sure that the workloads and the machines that we use to support that now are bigger than that you may have traditionally been used to. So we do now, for instance, have machine types that have got 16 CPUs in them. We do have GPUs that, again, used to be the remit of AVD. So, again, making sure that we continue to close that gap. Toby talked about some of the security features. Now, of course, Windows 365 is built on top of AVD, so, of course, we inherit those as well. So, Toby talked about one-way clipboard redirection, didn't mention watermarking. Both platforms support watermarking. We also now support things such as customer managed keys. So, of course, Windows 365 sits on the encrypted Azure storage platform, but that uses our keys. If for regulatory reasons you need to manage your own keys, then we support that now. Alongside customer lockbox as well. Anybody that's using M365 will be aware that you can use lockbox to inject yourself into your authorization process if a Microsoft engineer ever needs to get access to your data to help with a support case, for instance. You can make sure that they can't do that without you specifically letting that happen. A couple of last things. Again, things that differentiate Windows 365 from AVD, capabilities such as Win365 Boot. Again, everybody's going to be familiar with what that is. In essence, if you want an analogy, it is a way to use a thin client to connect to your cloud-hosted machine. Both in dedicated mode, if you want to do things such as single sign-on, or if you want to use in shared mode, you can also do that as well. Cheers, Toby. A Windows 365 switch. Sounds like a really simple feature, but really, really powerful if you're trying to use multiple desktops at a time. Again, I like to use that analogy of a local machine where you've got all your productivity tools, for instance, but you might want to have a dev machine in the cloud. So are we doing okay for time? So just a simple 4-finger swipe will take you from your local machine up to your cloud-hosted machine, and then reciprocally, if you want to come back, 4-finger swipe will bring you back. One last thing, again, one of the main differentiators, of course, between Windows 365 and AVD is the fact that Windows 365 doesn't have multi-session. Now, of course, multi-session, I'm sure there are plenty of people using it in the room. Typically, what you're trying to do is drive users in there, increase the user consolidation ratio and the user density so that you can reduce cost. We've tried to address that with something called 365 Frontline, whereby rather than having a single dedicated one-to-one license that allows the machine to be up 24/7, it's recognition of the fact that not everybody needs that as a workflow. So if you think about a concurrency model, what Windows 365 Frontline will do is give you the option to say, I'm going to have 3 persistent dedicated endpoints that are assigned to 3 individual users, but only one of those can log on at a time. So if cost is of a concern, then Frontline can potentially help you with that. So are we done for time? How are we doing for time?
Any questions on anything? Or Neil, you want us to wrap up?
questions, the guys will be here all day, so do feel free to grab them if you've got any specific stuff there. Next up is Citrix. Thank you. Clicker for yourself. Thank you very much. And your timer slides. There you go.
Thank you. Well, it's great to be with you again this year. My name's Nathaniel. I'm a product manager at Citrix, based up at Cambridge. Please do come and say hello to me at some point today. Talk about Citrix, talk about EUC, talk about anything. It was my birthday yesterday. You can wish me happy birthday if you like. But I'm going to tell you a bit about Citrix. But first, actually, I want to ask Ian from our friends over at Zen Server to come and say a few words about that.
Hello. So you might know me from a while back. I used to work at Citrix for many years. I had a few years out, but now I'm back as Zen Server PM. Nathaniel's only given me 1 minute. So sorry, Nathaniel's only given me 1 minute, so I'm going to be really quick. So first thing is to say is that we're back. After many years of underinvestment in the hypervisor, with the CSG acquiring us, they've invested in us and revitalising us. We've had a 50% headcount growth in the last year. So we're really committed to doing some great things. With our own business unit, we've got our new brand. We've got our own website now, zenserver.com, the place for all things Zen Server. Next, we aren't free anymore. Zen Server 8, which is the new release, is not part of any of the Citrix licensed SKUs anymore. So if you want to use it, you will have to buy. There is, however, a free trial available on zenserver.com, which is a completely unlimited trial in terms of time and functionality. It's got all the functionality in it. The only limit is you're limited to 3 hosts in a pool if you want to do that. If you want to use any more, you have to pay. Citrix Hypervisor 8.2 is still free and part of the Citrix SKUs until end of life in June 2025, so there's a bit of time left on that. There is, however, a fantastic promo that Citrix are offering to customers using Citrix already, which gives you unlimited socket licenses for Zen Server for your term of your renewal. So you can, if you jump on that promo, which is available till December this year, you'll be able to move to Zen Server 8 without having to pay for a while. And Zen Server 8 is actually going general availability today. It's been in preview, tech preview for a while, since about August, but today it will go general availability. So you can go to zenserver.com later today and download the final version, and that brings really the long-awaited Windows 11 support, which has been a long time coming, and some really nice new ways of upgrading and maintaining your hypervisor, so we can keep continuous delivery updates coming and get new features through much faster than we have been able to before, and make them much easier to install and use. So hopefully some great new features coming along in the not too distant future. The 3 things. And finally, really, our mission right now that the Tom Krause, CEO, has given us is to make sure that we are the best hypervisor for running Citrix workloads. So that's our mission for the next year. So all those lovely updates you'll see coming through, hopefully you should see really helping you make your EUC journey better to administer and better to deliver. Cool. I'll let you on.
Thank you, Ian. Over his 1 minute there, but we'll forgive him for some exciting announcements there. I'll just start with the big picture, and then we'll run through some features that have been released previously. Some of you will recognize a version of this from when we last met in November. At the center of the Citrix strategy for the next year and ahead is that hybrid multi-cloud position, making sure that we're meeting customers where they currently are across different service providers, across on-prem, different access tiers, and helping them to get to where they want to be, whether it's multiple clouds, whether it's one cloud, whether it's remaining with that on-prem hosting model. That's the center of our strategy. And of course, it's backed up by these 4 other pillars that you see around the edge there. Whatever we make, it has to be secure, inherently zero trust. We want as much as possible it to be automated and intelligent, so that you have that dynamic scaling and intelligence built in, but also it's repeatable and configurable through scripts and automated mechanisms. Of course, cost is always a #1 priority with our offerings, and that remains a priority for us as we develop over the next year. Surfacing those costs so that you know what you're paying for and so that you see the value of what's being delivered there. But the additional thing here is about the sustainability, not just showing the dollar cost, but the CO2 cost, the savings, which we know is something more and more important for many of us and many of our enterprises. And finally, we want to be supporting the next generation of experiences as people have moved away from a static desktop to laptop, mobile. Who knows where we'll go next with Vision Pros and augmented reality, things like that. These are our priorities for the next year ahead. But we want to say we've got a pretty good starting point. This is our Citrix on a slide that I try to include in most presentations. With the range from the user and endpoint to network and access apps and desktops, Citrix offers the broadest range, centered on our HDX protocol, which is the best in class for delivering high-quality experiences there. Broadest range of peripherals, client platforms, integration with a range of communication platforms, right across to where you're hosting and the type of applications and desktops you're offering there. We think we've got a pretty good starting point for meeting that need. And when we go through the actual features, we'll just use these 3 titles just to pick up a few things to talk about. As you can imagine, there's far more than can be fit into my remaining 3.5 minutes. But the big thing we're announcing, which has been announced a while back, but want to make sure you're all aware of, is the next LTSR coming up. It says in the first half of this year. I can tell you it's on the order of weeks, not months away. Something that we're really excited to deliver because it packages up the last 2 years of improvements which we've been developing on. I mean, this is what we've been doing for the last 2 years at Citrix. Doesn't fit on the slide there. Again, similar to the slides from the Microsoft guys, I'm not going to go through all of this. But if you're still on the previous 2203, or even, we know that about 40% of on-prem people are on the 1912 release, you're missing out on a whole lot of good stuff there. There's loads of workshops and blog posts and things like that to help guide that migration from previous LTSR versions to the new one. And especially if you're on that 1912 end of life at the end of this year, you need to be planning that move to the latest versions. But I'll start by picking up a few features in the user and endpoint category. We were excited recently to release a new version of the workspace, the Storefront Cloud UI, including some new features like a first-time user onboarding, a wizard there, the first time someone logs on to sort out their favorites, put things into categories to help them navigate that UI. Overall, it's been very simplified, adding things like a separate apps tab, and also improving the search. I know that whenever I'm launching something on my Windows computer, I no longer go, you start all programs, you go through the programs. No one navigates like that anymore. You put in the search for what you're looking for. At least that's what I do. And so I think improving the search was a significant benefit. And pretty soon, that's going to be coming to our on-prem product as well, the Storefront on-prem, which is part of our hybrid multi-cloud. Maybe it's cloud first, but everything you'll see will come to the on-prem product as well. This UI is in public preview, and you can talk to one of my colleagues here today, Jonathan, who'll tell you much more about Storefront and the on-prem product there. For those who aren't aware, our Citrix Enterprise browser is a sort of first-of-its-kind enterprise-class Chromium-based browser, allowing you lots of policy controls, things like clipboard control, screenshotting controls, watermarking, various things you can enforce on there to allow access to your SaaS apps, but perhaps also to even the Workspace HTML5 client. Quite a few improvements, developments over the last year. Supporting custom extensions, it's Chromium-based, and so many of the Chrome extensions apply to it. There's now supported in there. Previously, upgrades for it was tied to the Citrix Workspace app. Now, the Enterprise browser can be upgraded separately. Improving the single sign-on that can be configured through the Global App Config Service, GACS. Improvement to the Reconnect experience, making sure the user agent says Chromium so that it's not blocked by any aggressive filtering on the server side. And supporting for things like FIDO2 auth within the browser. We're also been very excited, again, part of the hybrid multi-cloud strategy, to bring secure private access, that ZTNA solution for accessing SaaS apps, previously only available in the cloud, now available using your existing on-premise infrastructure, your storefront and your NetScalers, to access on-prem SaaS apps, alongside your traditional Windows and Linux Citrix apps. Networks and enhancement. We know that HDX is really the core of Citrix's technology, and so we've been continuing to invest in that. Support for new codecs, which comes with dynamic ability to choose between, that's my time, choose between which codec to use, and important improvements in the audio side of things as well. Also pleased that the HDX protocol will be introducing this new mode, which allows, if you have line of sight between your client and your user and your VDA, your remote desktop, you don't have to go through the gateway service if that's something you configured. Initial configuration is through that, but you can have significant improvements. If I'm in the same office as my desktop, I don't want to be going through the cloud every time. I initiate that connection, but going forward, this feature, once it reaches a GA, currently in preview, will allow that direct connection. Okay, I appreciate my time's up. I will run through these very quickly. Please ask me about them next time. Excited to support Azure Hibernation. Big improvements for cost savings side with support for that. We're also been excited to offer a public preview of macOS VDAs. Now, obviously you can't virtualize your macOS. You have to partner with someone like Mac Stadium, or you have to have the infrastructure yourself. But this has got significant use cases for designers, for developers, even for our execs, who many of which like using Macs. So we're excited to offer that for macOS. And finally, various improvements in the VDA upgrade service, supporting PAX scripts for proxy support, allowing upgrades from a local file share instead of relying on the cloud, and upgrade failsafe. This is allowing it to roll back automatically if there are any issues there. Of course, there's so much more, so please do come and say hello, but thank you for your time.
Right, continuing the whirlwind tour, we have Vmware. Spencer and Matt. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
I'll give you the same courtesy alarm clock. There we go. Keep you honest. Oh, got your own as well. Organised.
So I'm conscious that it said VMware there, and that's changed. And no, that's fine. That's fine. That's so. Welcome again, everyone. Thanks for having us back. It's our second time now, so long may it continue. I'm Spencer Pitts. I'm the Chief Technologist for End User Computing Division, but I'll get to that bit in a second. And I'm joined by Matt. Matt?
Morning, everyone. I'm Matt Evans. A lot of familiar faces here, so good to see you all again. Yeah, I'm one of our solutions engineers. Been with the company for about 7.5 years now.
And I'm 17 years. You wouldn't notice, would you? Right, so elephant in the room, or whatever other kind of animal in the room, you should say. So those that haven't been aware, we've been living this for, feels like ages, to be fair. But, since Broadcom announced they were going to buy VMware 20 plus months ago, it finally closed, and I was trying to work it out whether we were at the session before. When was the last session? It was November, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to work out whether the acquisition happened after. I think it was just after we did the session. So anyway, so Broadcom now own VMware, and instantly, or pretty much instantly, December timeframe on his first earnings call, he announced, Hock announced that he was going to divest EUC, which, to be fair, internally at VMware and End User Computing, we all knew. We knew this was going to happen, right? And I think it was one of those unkept secrets that was around anyway. So we'd been gearing up, we being the leadership and all the team as part of that, different business unit that was part of VMware. We'd been gearing up already to become a separate entity. So we didn't, this didn't come as a shock. It probably was a little bit earlier than what we thought. We didn't think he was going to announce it till later on, but actually, best that it was out. And so we're looking to be divested. Now, second bit that happened, end of February. I don't know if anybody's sort of up to speed with PE firms and private equity. All right, I wasn't, I'm going to be honest with you, but as part of this whole thing, I did some investigation. So we are going to be bought by KKR. Anybody know KKR? Okay, so they've got a long history. And look, if you're going to do PE firms, out of all of them, I think a lot of people would say KKR is the best one, right? There are others, they have different models. Some come along and do asset stripping. Some are very much interested in the install base of customers and leveraging the investment there. Some like KKR, are very good at taking companies, growing them, investing for the long term, and yeah, they own people like Sonos, Spotify, so some household names. And
Epic Games.
Epic Games, yeah. I was going to say that in a fortnight. No, that didn't work, did it? Say that one again later. But yeah, and they're very good at investing in companies and then growing them. So it's not one of those, people getting worried that, well, we were worried for obvious reasons that somebody might come along and completely change the model. So what does that company look like? It's about, roughly at the moment, just under 4,000 people that all come across. So that's all the marketing, all the legal, all the support, all the engineering teams that come completely across. So even before this was happening, we were almost being sandboxed off, if you like, to run as a separate entity anyway in Broadcom. So we're looking to grow, right? We've already got headcount open and recruiting. We've got quite a lot of new members that have joined from, I think, some ex-Citrix people have come across recently. So we are growing, so that's good, right? Straight away that we're, not downsizing and we're actually growing the staff, mainly because there were a lot of shared functions that when we split off from VMware, we needed to bring over. So looking to grow. It's about 4 billion we were acquired for, right? And yeah, we got very healthy business. We're about 1.5 billion ARR per year, so quite big in the subscription, which is obviously what the stock market likes. So a sizable company in its own right. So personally, I'm looking forward to being part of a growth company. It's almost like being part of a startup, but without all the startup. We're still 4,500 people, or will be. We've got a strong product, etc., etc. The other good news here is we're not changing the strategy. So our autonomous workspace vision and all the products underneath that, that's all coming across. We're not changing that. That is still our stated goal. Best-in-class VDI and virtual apps. Everything we do around sort of, unified endpoint management and embedded security. All of our digital employee experience tools and then our sort of data plane that sits underneath. That is staying. We are investing in that. We're not changing it. We're not divesting that. Horizon is not being split off or anything like that. I've seen lots of rumours. I look at the net as well, and there's some interesting ones that pop up. As far as I understand, everything is staying as it is, and we're investing in it and hopefully, accelerating on that. So it's all good news, I think. We all think it's good news. Hopefully it's good news for all our customers and puts to bed a lot of that uncertainty. I'm sure there's billions of questions about what does that mean when you're splitting off? Does that mean Horizon, vSphere, support, integration, all of that stuff? If you want to come and speak to us at the breaks and that, I'm sure we can talk about that. But, ostensibly it's business as usual. We do have a new name. Again, I can't say what that is. We will at some point be doing a big sort of reveal. Again, those that are pretty good at doing search criteria probably could find that straight away or already know it. But, suffice to say, we will be talking to customers about that. You might even at some point start to get some comms from us that will give away the game. But yeah, we're all ready to go. The only reason we can't do that right now is because we're still part of Broadcom, right? Until the actual acquisition or the divestiture closes, we are still part of Hock's organisation and an individual business unit. But it's all ready to go, and we're looking forward to it. So hopefully you guys are as well, those that are long-term VMware customers. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Matt, who's just going to do a quick tech update. But yeah, come and grab us at the breaks, and I'm sure we'll tell you more. And stuff probably we're not allowed to say as well.
Right, yeah, so do a quick 4 minutes. This next section really is going to be focused a little bit more about what we've been doing from a product development point of view and our sort of vision and where we're going for the future. For anyone that doesn't know what Workspace ONE is, that is really our device and application management. So that is a equivalent to an MDM management tool, PCLM tool. The reason we bring it up here is because we've completely rewritten the whole platform, the whole stack over the last year. And we've done that for a number of reasons. Not just to make development times quicker and allow us to bring new features and functions to the market a lot quicker, but also to introduce new functionality. So it's now sort of a completely microservice-based platform. So what that really means to us is that we don't have to keep recompiling this legacy AirWatch code that VMware acquired 10 years ago every time we're going to change something. So actually product life cycle will be a lot slicker, a lot quicker, and as I say, brings in a lot of new functionality. It also allows us to actually deliver updates, profiles, applications to the install base a lot quicker as well. So from testing, we're sort of seeing an increase of about 10x. When we're pushing out app updates or profile updates to thousands of devices. Something else we're seeing a lot more of is that customers are starting to use Workspace ONE to manage their VDI images as well. So traditionally, the market we went for was, Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android, kind of the usual devices. We're actually seeing a lot more using it now for VDI management. And part of that reason is some I guess, sort of tie-in to sort of the VDI stack. So we have the Horizon control plane. Obviously, a lot of functionality on there you can all read. It's pretty obvious what most of it does. Anything you're unsure about, come and grab us. But where we start to do the application management from here, this can also tie into Workspace ONE. So where we're using our app volumes technology to deliver apps down to VDI, there could be done via Workspace ONE. So we could be using that as the vehicle to deliver those apps. And as you can see, in terms of on-premises, public and private cloud, obviously we have a lot of tiebacks to various different vendors, so you can deliver your VDI workload on those different platforms. You can migrate from one to the other. Essentially your control plane becomes that central point for your VDI workload management, whether it's burst capacity, whether it's you want to deploy and manage in multiple different clouds, or, as I say, on premises. And then finally, the other bit I want to really touch on in the last minute or so is that within our EUC sort of platform and portfolio, we have intelligence. Intelligence gives us the ability to pull back data from Horizon, from Workspace ONE UEM, from Workspace ONE Access, which is our identity and access management platform, and use that data to create custom dashboards, reports, automations, and so forth. And really an extension of that is Deem. So we're now looking at more at the user experience. So obviously previously that data we were bringing back was more about the device. This is more about the user. We start to generate user scores. We start to look at things like log-on times, app crashes, and so forth. And we can then use that data for different types of automations, user workflows, things like that. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Nope. Cover it off. So yeah, and that's the big thing. And as I say, what we're seeing a lot more of is those two worlds coming together of our traditional UEM device management and VDI. So Deem, again, and intelligence spans across both Horizon and Workspace ONE from intelligence and sort of reporting and automation point of view. And with that, with 10 seconds to go, we have got 10 seconds for questions. If not, as we say, we're around. We can come and grab us in the break.
Thanks, chaps.
Yeah. Cheers.
Up next is our very own Chris, who's going to do the mop-up of everything else.
Everything else.
Everything else.
Neil,
Around the ground. I'm going to stay here and set this laptop up.
I will do your bit, because I don't want to talk at you about Nerdio.
You could do if you wanted to. We won't mind.
Ignore me, I'm just sitting on my laptop for the next session.
Okay. All right. So, welcome everyone. So, my name's Neil McLaughlin. I'm going to give you the news around Nerdio, and then Chris is going to cover off everything else. Speak to the mic. Just wait for Neil to finish.
You're invading his personal space.
Yeah. Okay. Any Nerdio users in the room? Quite a few. Okay, cool. So those of you who aren't aware, Nerdio is a platform where we manage Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 365, and more recently, more Intune and physical devices as well. So it's been a very busy year for us. So what I've done, basically, these are the 3 major features that we released over the past 3 months. Okay, we've actually got another session at 2:30 where we're going to go into the future about what we're going to cover over the next 3 months as well, or 6 months even. Okay, so first one is AppAttach v2 support. So we're a management platform which sits on top of Azure Virtual Desktop. Okay, so any sort of Microsoft features which Microsoft release, we naturally inherit, and we add our own little sprinkle of what I call pixie dust to it to make it that little bit better as well. So anyone in the room use AppAttach? Yeah, not many, I thought so. The reason why, obviously, historically, it's been a bit difficult to work with, but the V2 support of AppAttach is a lot better. Compatibility a lot better. You have support for Enter ID, that kind of thing as well. So we integrated that into the Nerdio console. And I can now say we're in the AI game, okay? So who isn't, right? So yeah, we released a chatbot. That's in private preview at the moment for our customers. And that's basically just sucked in all our KB articles. So you get a nice little chatbot within the Nerdio console. There's a lot more that we're doing with AI, so we can spend more details of that at our session at 2:30 as well. Also, we've got full support for Azure HCI. This is something which I'm personally very excited about. When I was speaking to our CEO, I explained kind of like the fact that as it is today, you can't get auto-scaling on HCI natively with Microsoft.
but we've released that capability alongside it as well. So the reason why that's important is because HCI is per vCPU per hour pricing. Okay, so obviously massive cost reduction exercise there as well, and we can efficiently say we're in a hybrid game as well, right? Because we can now do on-prem and also cloud workloads as well. So something we're very excited with that as well. Nerdy Advisor, something again. I get excited about all the Nerdy features, but basically we've released something called Nerdy Advisor. We've had it for single pools for quite a while, but now we've released it for multiple pools as well, shared host pools. And what this does, it looks at your CPU and memory performance of your host, and then just make sure you're on the right size, right? So for example, if I'm on a D16, but I'm only using like 50% of the memory or CPU, you'll say, hey, maybe you'd be better to resize onto a D8, and then it automatically resizes that for you as well. So last week, I managed to save one customer nearly £1 million with a few clicks of the button. Okay, so come to our session at 2:30, and I'll explain to you how we've done that. Multiple schedule support. So Nerdio uses something called scripted actions, where we can run scripts at any time within the management process. So during VM creation process, updates, power on, power off, anything. So we can now run multiple of these scripted actions during provisioning and management as well. We've made multiple enhancements to our auto-scaling. So a lot of customers use Nerdio for the enhanced auto-scaling that it gives you, okay, because it gives you more cost management. So we've introduced something called rolling drain mode. So I'm sure we've all hit the problem where we get to the end of the working day and you've got one session logged onto each host, right, and you can't shut that host down. Unfortunately, we can't do live user migration yet. Please, Microsoft, fix that problem. We get to a stage where we can't shut the host down. So what we can do with rolling drain mode is basically just shut maybe 50% of the host down at lunchtime. That means any new user connections go on, and then you can shut the host down quicker to the other day. We've also released auto-scaling profiles. So that gives you the ability to create different auto-scaling profiles and then apply them to multiple host pools very quickly and easy. So previously, we could only do that on an individual host pool basis, but now we can create one profile and bang, 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 put it across to multiple host pools as well. So that's a massive time-saving feature. Unified endpoint management. So we officially went into the Intune game because we realized that we manage a lot of Windows 365 desktops as well, and also physical devices. So we started to put a lot of enhancements into Intune. One of those is policy management. So we can now create, modify, and back up Intune policies from the Nerdio console, and you can get a little like release notes and stuff on that as well. And then we've done lots of enhancements to reporting and also application compliance, which is seriously cool. So what I can now do is deploy applications from Intune onto my session host. I tick a box, and that session host won't be made available to the users until the applications have actually deployed, okay? Because we all know with Intune, it takes forever to deliver applications, right? So this basically just makes sure that all the applications delivered until that host is actually available to users. So very cool and very useful feature. And we've also built an application called Unified Application Manager, which is our delivery product. How do we deliver applications onto Windows 365, physical, and also AVD desktops as well? So we've done integration with SCCM. We've got its integration with Intune as well, and there's something called Shell App Support. So you can do like pre and post checking to make sure the application's been delivered properly. So that's very cool. And we've also got support for Azure Compute Hibernation as well. So again, a feature I'm personally very excited about because it massively increases the user experience and decreases the cost as well. So we've also integrated that within the Nerdio console. So that's basically a summary of all our top features over the past 3 months. Come to our session at 2:30 where we're going to show you the roadmap for the future and also go into a bit more detail about some of these features as well. If you've got any questions about the product, we've got our product team with us here today. So, Toby, do you want to stand up? He's not here. Craig, do you want to stand up? So any questions about the product, go speak to these guys, and they'll be able to listen to your feedback about the stuff as well. So that's the news from me.
That session's going to be about 4 minutes shorter now, as Neil's blown his time away. So my name's Chris. I've now got the heady task of introducing and talking about vendors who are actually in the room, who I don't work for, so please feel free to shout out if we get anything wrong. To give you a quick overview of what's happening in AWS, most of you have probably seen the news that Amazon have released their own thin client device. There's a little picture of it up there. There's also multi-region resilience one-way replication. That means from a DR point of view, your AWS workspaces can replicate every 12 hours so that if anything happens in your primary region, you've got a backup facility there. From a CloudWatch point of view, this is AWS's kind of monitoring platform. There's brand new metrics for CPU and memory, so you can kind of see all of that kind of stuff. Workspaces now supports WebAuthn, as it says, for in-session authentication. So for web-based applications that use that protocol, it makes it a lot more integrated, a lot more easier for users. And then Amazon Workspaces via CloudWatch automatic dashboard. I tried to put a picture of the automatic dashboard on here, and in fact it is a picture of the automatic dashboard on here, but most of you who are behind the first row will not know what the hell that says. So feel free to have a look at the slides, or just Google CloudWatch automatic dashboard, and you'll get lots of information about that. Anything I've missed, AWS guys? Oh, Zoom. There was a Zoom integrated announcement happened as well, so Workspaces is now integrated with the Zoom VDI client. Anything else? Oh yeah, and if you want to know more, come to Andrew's session later on this afternoon, or later on this morning at 11:25. You've not got a great deal of time to wait. Parallels. These are great, guys. Can you guess which one of these I work for? A number of updates. From a Parallels RAS point of view, that's the VDI product. 19.4 is in technical preview. That will release in about a month. Self-service email OTP, that was a customer request. That got turned around from customer request to in the product within 3 weeks. Just to give you an example. Most providers don't do email OTP. Citrix NetScaler does. I won't say any more about where the customer had come from. But that was a reason why that feature got implemented. Agent Auto Upgrade, multi-monitor web client. We already support multi-monitor for the install clients. We've got it for a web client now. There's a Nutanix reference architecture. It fully supports AHV. Parallels has the first IGL-ready VDI client in the world. And we're just about to release our Azure Marketplace transaction offer. What that basically does is a customer can go in and from scratch have a full AVD deployment without actually knowing anything at all about AVD. They just go through a wizard and the whole thing gets deployed. And from a RAS point of view, AVD gets deployed, updated, managed, auto-scaled, all of this kind of stuff, all from within the RAS console. From a new releases point of view, it's very evident there's a skills issue with customers. Those of you that are customers in the audience, I'm sure you'll probably have come across it before. CIO has a cloud journey, cloud strategy, and they thought they're going to get there in 6 months, and 3 years later, they're still 40% there. That's my alarm going off. Thanks, Neil. Can I stop it? No, seems not. From a public cloud service point of view, what Parallels decided to do is introduce desktop as a service. What that's going to do is that's super, super simple. No skills required. Within a single afternoon, a customer can go from 0 to getting fully deployed cloud-based applications, and that will run from any region in the world. The reason that will run from any Azure region in the world is the gateway is in the customer's subscription. So this runs in a different way to how most DaaS providers work. So you configure it in a central console. The customer is complete control of the network traffic. They have the gateway in their own subscription. PBI, secure web browser, that is running exclusively currently in the public cloud. So browser, container, the whole thing's cloud native, runs completely in the public cloud, but that browser is secure, so if you're accessing your SaaS apps or your IDP and all that kind of stuff. Lastly, Digium Frame, I had a really good chat with Ruben Sprout. So he's given me this information. Those of you that don't know, Digium were like a managed desktop as a service company. They, up until this point, were using Horizon underneath the covers it, and still are, by the way. They've acquired Frame, so they're going to add Frame into that portfolio. What Frame are doing is they've got lots of integration, but they're probably really doing what they're most famous for, to be honest, which is the GPU stuff. They have got access to the latest L-class, Lovelace GPUs. They're pretty much the only ones able to do this right now. That's sitting inside the IBM cloud. They've also removed the need for SSL certificates in their own gateway appliances as well. So architecturally, it's very similar to most vendors, but they've not got SSL certificates in there at the minute. Lastly, this is not vendor related really, although you have to register with Dizion to get it. Ruben has created this fairly awesome thing, if you haven't seen it yet, called the Hexagrid. He's literally laid out every vendor in the arena and actually written a little bit about them and about that space. So feel free to go and look for EUC Hexagrid. Like I say, you will have to register with Dizion. He's also written a white paper about the whole thing as well. So he happens to work for Dizion Frame. This is a fairly balanced, well-written piece of output. Go and have a look. And that's me done.